everyone and welcome to probably the last live stream for 2019. I say probably because maybe it's not the last. I have one day left, so maybe, who knows? I know. Yeah, Blender, it's in English. Today it's in English, and today it's kind of an interesting live streaming. The Spanish followers already know part of what I'm about to show you. That is, Mantaflow is already implemented in Blender 2.82. High realized potential, and this is one part of it. But as you can see here, I was preparing the splash screen. The splash screen for this live streaming. I had no time to prepare it in the end, so I'm going to prepare the splash screen that I will put in the video in live. So let's go for it. And as you can see, I'm working with the OSM modifier. And why am I working with the OSM modifier? Because we have some new and neat features in the voxel remesher. Yeah, thanks to Martin, to Scorpion81, Scorpion8182. Now you are 8182, man. You are 81. Be proud, Martin. You are a Scorpion81, not 8182. So we have new features, and we have pretty neat new features that I'm going to show you. But first thing first, this is Mantaflow. So now we have Mantaflow in our build in BoneMaster. Is the version of Blender that I use, that we do, and you can download this version of Blender from Graphical, because someone asked me in Twitter what make our version of Blender or BoneMaster better than the release, and my first answer is, well, nothing, because it's not that it is better, it's just that it's kind of different or a bit more advanced to release. Why? By the way, Merry Christmas everyone. Why is it kind of better? Because we add several patches to our version of Blender. So we have an enhanced version of cycles. We have the voxel unmetable remeshers in the remesh modifier. This is developed by Scorpion81. 81, man. 81, not 82. And we have also interesting patches that we find in developer.blender.org. And we try to apply as many patches as we can if they are stable enough. Recently, I had to do remaster of all the build, especially the cycles related patches. So right now, not everything that used to be in BoneMaster it's actually in the current BoneMaster. For example, adaptive sampling is on hold until I have time to do a refactor of the patch, or until Stefan Werner can do the refactor, or until I can apply a patch that was given to me by another person. So we'll see, but it will come back to BoneMaster adaptive sampling. But we have this kind of features. We have light group passes, we have dithering shovel, scramble distance. We have also render farm safe tile size that will adapt the tile size to the size to the better size of tiling, depending if you use the CPU or the GPU. And this is not an add-on, so this is implemented inside Blender, so it works with the actual version of Blender, but it's not actually in the actual version. It's removed temporarily. I hope to have time to add this, I don't know, tomorrow, this week, I don't know, but soon enough. Also, disable scramble in viewport. It's another option we have here. And we have improved equiangular sampling for area lights and spots. It's a patch from Stefan Werner. And visible area lights, so you can render area lights. So if we have an area light here, hello area light. If you press render, it's the light is working, but you cannot see the light. But now we can go to the properties of the object of the light. In visibility, we can enable camera, and ta-da! We have visible area lights in our version of Blender. So we have many patches, we have many improvements. For the modifiers, we have the voxel remesher based on OpenVDB and the Mantaflow remesher. And we have also, in the model tools, we have destructive extrude. That is a patch that will come to Blender. I hope it comes for 2.83, but I'm not sure. It's not in master right now, but it's a pretty interesting patch that if we go here and we create a cube, okay, here we have the cube, we go to edit mode, and we have in the extrude options, we have destructive extrude. So we can get this, and we can do this, and we can do this. For example, I'm doing several extrudes, okay? But now, if I do this, for example, you can see how the remaining loops are being deleted. So it's pretty cool. It generates correct geometry. For example, I can push down this face, and I can continue going down, and it will create a kind of correct geometry, because if I check the vertices, you can see that the geometry is kind of correct. Why do I say kind of? It's kind of correct because we don't have a natural correct layout of the geometry, so we have to continue to clean up the geometry to avoid this kind of pentagons or n-gons. So it's great. There is one limitation though, I think right now, and I'm not sure if the author is going to fix this limitation from what he said in developer.blender.org. That is that if I do this and I do this, you can see that I'm doing this route, okay? And I can continue this route, but if I continue until here, it's not breaking and doing a tunnel. So I think this should be fixed. It can be manually done, of course. You can do until the very end, and the final step, you can do the final step by hand. But the good thing would be to have this as a whole. So we create a hole along the geometry. But this is not shown right now, but it's okay. It's another one of our features. Right now, we publish just the Windows build, the Windows version. You can go to Blender, to graphical.org, that is in Blender community, and download the Windows build. But NICAP is maintaining the Linux version, the Linux build, for all of you Linux users that want to use this build but don't want to compile this version of Blender. So you can download the NICAP version. He usually updates the version at more or less the same time I update the Windows version, maybe the next day or something like that, but he maintains a good pace. So thanks for NICAP to share the build, because it saves me to having to do the build and I don't have too much time. So it's great. Scorpion says, without destructive strokes pulling down the face on the left of that object was harder. Yes, exactly. Destructive extrude is a very good tool. We can also do this. We can create stair, and the geometry is correct. This is what I really like from this. And we can restrain this. Okay. You see, we can undo without trouble. It's pretty neat. It's a great feature, and the geometry is kind of correct, as I said. So great, awesome. This is what makes Bone Master different from other Blender builds. But it's always based on master. Okay, it is always based on master. So right now I'm going to update the build tonight, probably tonight. I already did the tests, and I'm going to upload the build tonight to Graphical. So that's it. this is what it does, our version of Blender faster or better. And I have a question here from Noah. Tips for render fast. It depends on your scene, but after I prepare this scene, I can do some render test and explain some settings. Hey, Setomonte. Hey, you can say buenas, but we are in English. Extrude the stairs. Yeah. So what I was doing was preparing a scene to mix Mantaflow with the voxel remesher with the ocean modifier. So I'm going to continue this preparation, and we're going to prepare the splash screen for the video, the thumbnail. So we have this, and I'm going to reduce now the choppiness, yeah, a bit less choppiness, and the scale 0.2. I don't want complex. I'm not going to do anything fancy, okay? It's going to be pretty easy, but so far so good. Okay, so we have this this ocean, and we can animate this ocean. Let me save to live streaming, and we create the structure folder. It's important you respect the structure you decide to have in every project you do. So ocean Manta. The result is not going to be perfect, I think, but it's going to be enough. So we can go here and scenes and ocean, and it can create the cache here. So let's make the ocean. Okay, and it's not moving, so let's animate the time from 0 to, I don't know, 5, for example. Why is it not being animated? As always, things fail. Why? Because I have I have it baked. It's obvious. Juan, please stay focused. Stay focused, Juan. You cannot fail that way. This way, not that way. That way is the another way. This way. I'm failing this way, not that way. You cannot fail this way. Too much. Let's decrease the scale. I want to count C. Okay, that's okay. Let's bake the ocean, and that's it. We have an instant ocean. And I'm not going to apply any material yet. I'm going to save. No, not save. I'm going to prepare the scene now. So we have this, that is Suzanne. We have our Suzanne. Hello, Suzanne, how are you? And Suzanne is 1 meter. Okay, it's not bad. Focus, focus, focus. Yeah, yes, Pax. Focus. I cannot fail. I cannot allow myself to fail. You know, I have to be perfect, because you all know that my streams are perfect, always perfect. Not really, but who cares? At least it's fun. So let's do this. Let's hide for a moment this. And what I'm doing is preparing the, let's remove this floor, the Mantaflow scene. So if you want to know how to prepare a Mantaflow scene and you are new to Mantaflow, first thing you have to do is, why are you new to Mantaflow? I have a lot of streams about Mantaflow. You should know Mantaflow already. So, but in case you are new to Mantaflow, you have to do this. You prepare the domain, and keep in mind that the domain is going to consider just the bounding box of the object you are going to use domain as a domain. So that's important. This is going to be enough. Okay, and be sure to have the scale to 111. So always apply the scale in every single object you are going to use with a simulation. No matter if it's Mantaflow, no matter if it's rigid bodies, cloth, whatever. Apply the scale, please. In general, apply the scale, or your simulation will be wrong, and you will be filling bug reports that are going to be useless. So apply the scale. Okay, I'm going to try one thing that I never tried. That is that I'm going to try to use this object as the emitter. Why? Because I want to. You know, I want to fail. I don't want to fail. I want to try to fail because I never fail. So I want to fail so hard. No, it's false. It's a lie. You know, I'm lying to you guys. Okay, we are going to use this as flow and liquid. Yes, okay. We go to frame 0, and this is going to emit the flow from the geometry at the startup frame of the simulation. So it's not going to consider the rest of the animation of the object, but it's going to be enough. Let me check if everything's okay. Okay, yes, everything's okay. We can continue. So we have the mesh. It's not planar because it has thickness, so it's not planar. And we don't want any initial velocity. And it's great, it's okay. And just the geometry, because we don't have it to be an inflow, so a continuous inflow of liquid. And we don't have to be as an outflow that will remove the fluid. We want just the geometry. And that's it. Sampling substeps, no need to sample the substeps. So now we have our fluid emitter, that is the box of the ocean. We have our domain, that is a liquid domain. And now we have an object. So we are going to animate this head, this monkey head. We're going to make it bigger. Is it time for beer yet? Yes, it's time for beer, but that I don't have beer. I have my mystery liquid. I always drink this liquid. JFMG, but Juan, what do you have there? Well, I have an ocean, and I have a Mantaflow, and I have Bone Master, and I have, I don't know, my Christmas hat. It's important to have a Christmas hat. Let me show you. Right? Okay. Huh? It's my Christmas hat. I wear this every Christmas. So maybe finally English stream from you. Yes, sorry, so maybe I know I have to do more English streamings. It's hard to me to find time to actually stream, but I want to stream more. I need to stream more. Okay, let's set the location and to frame. I'm going to maintain the same location until frame 20, and then we go to frame 30, and we are going to push the head and this way so it can break. Yep, it's too fast. It is too fast. So let me fix this. You have to be faster. Okay, and now we are going to move this to so it starts all the animation at frame 20 so the water can settle a bit. I find the Spanish version quite exhausting, but I don't speak Spanish. Yeah, it's normal specs, but it is quite exhausting for me too. So we have, okay, we have this, we have our animation. Let's save. Let's check our domain. And now we can enable, this is important, there is a bug right now in Mantaflow. Okay, my mystery liquid fall. Let me close this already. This way. I hadn't thought of spirits. Okay, there's a book right now, a book. It depends if you speak American English, England English, or Spanish English. I speak a mixture of Spanish English and another English. So that you have the liquid checkbox enabled, but this liquid checkbox, it's not really enabled. So you have to click over it once, and now it's enabled. By default, when you manually create the domain, you are going to see this checkbox as enabled, but it is not enabled. Okay, so you have to click once, and then you will see that the domain changes to wireframe view, and then you know that the liquid domain, the flip particles are enabled. If you have this disabled, you are not going to see the particles. So now we have this, and we can test this with our first test. So okay, 50 frames, it's okay. Let's go to save again, and we can bake data. And there is an interesting thing that in the latest versions, just before Mantaflow was implemented inside Blender, inside Master, just before it landed Master, there was an improvement, and right now Mantaflow leverages more or less the CPU as much as it can. So this is a Threadripper, the 2990 WX, and it has 64 threads, and it's around 30%, 40% of usage during the simulation. So it's not bad at all. And it's done. We can see. Okay, we can hide our ocean, and we can see our ocean. Great. Now let's define the head as obstacle. So effector and collision, and that's it. Nothing more to do. So let's free data, bake data, and let's see what happens. Cibus 3D, you said the Spanglish. I know you wrote that. No, it's not the Spanglish. It's not as good as Spanglish. So okay, come on. What about GPUs? I have a Radeon Vega 64. So about GPUs, I can only recommend NVIDIA GPUs. Sorry guys, but OpenCL is behind CUDA, and right now it's way behind optics, but really way behind optics. So right now any RTX, and I recommend, for example, for a moderated price, I think the RTX 2060 Super is very good. Not the 2060, but the 2060 Super, because basically it's an RTX 2070 but rebranded. So you will have 8 gigs of VRAM, and you will have a very good performance for around less than 400 euros, I think. It's a very good GPU. Now, and it falls. Okay, not bad. Maybe we need to make it a bit bigger. Let's do it that way. Even a bit faster. Okay, and let's bake again. But let's try to increase the number of particles. So for example, particles maximum, I want 32 and 16 particles as minimum. Particle sampling 3, so I get more flip particles. Normal bandwidth to 3, it's okay, and the rest of things is more or less okay. 1.2 as the radius, just because I like more this setting, and the rest of things are more or less okay. We can increase a bit the divisions to 19. Okay, and that's it. So we can save and bake. Suzanne's scale. Good question. Do I have applied Suzanne's scale? No, because I have not followed my own recommendation. Why should I, right? Okay, apply scale, first of all. We have everything with correct scale. Okay, so let's free and bake data. Thanks, Aldo Montanari. VGI is best tester. Yeah, I don't know, the S3. I used to have an S3. I don't remember the name. It was I only remember the S3. After that, I had a, what was it called? A Voodoo GFX. Yeah, the Voodoo 2. My first Voodoo was the Voodoo 2. Specs, you can't stand Suzanne. That is why we are going to drown her. Here. But it's just 3D animation. Please, YouTube, don't censor me. We are not drowning anyone. Okay. Come on. But yeah, Specs, CUDA is the best. And we have some small improvements in our version for CUDA and for optics that makes it render a bit faster with both. I cannot show you the speed with optics right now because I have the RTX I use in the other computer, but it's really fast. I really recommend 2080 Ti to anyone. I think it's the best card, especially because you have 11 gigs of RAM. That for me it's a minimum. 8 gigs it's okay, but it's very long. So I think 11 gigs is better. In fact, I was tempted to acquire a Titan RTX with 24 gigs of RAM, but it was too expensive, really too expensive. But I can only recommend NVIDIA cards, that's for sure. Right now, there is nothing better. And fall, okay, great. And now its speed is a bit lower because we have much more particles than before. Or even C64 graphics via antenna cable on TV. Yeah, I never had a Commodore. I was an Amstrad guy. Upgraded Vega 64 to 2070 Super. Merely gained render speed improvement for my November with, and that's without optics, just ordinary CUDA. Exactly. A 1000% for render speed improvement in CUDA. You have to test optics, Master and Army, because optics it's amazing. It's really amazing. I imagine you already tested optics. Now you have to test optics with Unreal. Test optics with Unreal. You will be surprised. Okay, so we have this, and right now we have some trouble to mix Mantaflow simulations with other simulations. So right now, for starters, we have the border collisions enabled, because if I disable this, we are going to lose all our liquid. So I have to enable the border collisions. So we are going to see this kind of strange, okay, strange wall effect here. But we will try to, I don't know, to reduce the visual problem here. So now we have here, and we can calculate the mesh. We can disable the liquid. I don't want the liquid anymore. And we have the mesh, and we can bake mesh. Yes, the RTX it's amazing. It's really amazing. I cannot recommend any other thing for Blender right now. But I strongly recommend to use Blender under Linux, not under Windows. You are going to get way more performance in Blender, way more, at least in my experience, way more stability, and way more performance even with viewport and other things. So use Linux. Okay, we have our liquid. It's kind of, yeah, it's enough. Great, right? We have our simulation, and now we are going to do some magic here. What do I mean with magic? We are going to mix this with the ocean. We saw the ocean. Let's see. Okay, and we are seeing, we are looking at a problem right now. That is that if I enable the liquid, sorry, the Mantaflow, yeah, if I enable the liquid, you will see that the simulation here, but the mesh is down here. Why? Because right now there is also a bug. It's kind of a bug, and also it's kind of a limitation. So it's something that will probably be solved in the near future. There is even a bug report about this, but so far it's easy to resolve. So we can free the mesh, and you can see that we have this here, but the location is not applied. So if we apply the location, you can see that the particles modify this position. So now that we have applied the location of the domain, we have to rebake the particles. Don't worry, I will bake just like 64 samples or divisions. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to bake 90 divisions, and I'm going to start another Blender. Let me go here. So I can explain during the simulation, I can explain a bit some settings of cycles. You say it's sorting to central geometry, Sebus? Are you entirely so? So if I bake part of the mesh, it's not going to be correct? Yeah, you are totally right. Thanks. So set origin to geometry, and now we should get the correct result. It's a new bug. It's not a new bug. It has always been this way, I think. But now more people is testing Blenders as Mantaflow, so it's normal that it has workarounds, but it should work out of the box. So let's test to bake part of the mesh. Hello, Gabriel. Today is in English, just so you know, but you can stay. Why not? Okay, let's see. Where is the okay, now the geometry is in the correct place. Great, awesome. Let's free the mesh and let's simulate to even 100. Yeah, bake data. And let's go to the other version of Blender. So I'm going to talk you about a bit about render settings for our version of cycles, because one thing we don't use are presets. We don't use presets not because they are not useful. They could be useful. We could create some presets here, but we generally don't use presets because we fine-tune every scene up to the smallest detail. So let me see, because I think I have the classroom scene here. So let me go here, live streaming. It's not in Twitch. And classroom. Okay, here it is. I can open the classroom scene and we can test this scene. So we can render this, and I don't have, right now I have the settings in cycles in the exact same configuration you would get in standard Blender. Okay, Blender Master 2.82 or 2.81 is the exact same configuration. Nothing improved, nothing optimized. So we can try to render, but let me use the GPU and let me reduce the resolution just because I'm using the CPU with the simulation, and I think it has not finished yet. Yeah, so I'm going to use the GPU for the rendering, and we can try this. One important thing, I want to change the tile size, and I want also to configure top to bottom because it's better for memory access, and it's tiny bit faster in theory. No, top to bottom, no, bottom to top. It's a tiny bit faster. Gabriel learn English with Cibos 3D and me. Welcome. So let's go. This is a 1080, so it's not a new card or anything, it's just a GTX 1080. I'm wondering, when are we going to have the optics support for GTX cards? It would be great to see what could be the speed improvement by using optics with an old GTX card. It's kind of slow. I'm tempted to reduce the amount of samples just for the test. Yeah, I think so. This is slow. I cannot wait too long. So long. Okay, we have the simulation here. I'm going to jump between one thing and the other. So keep it up. We have the simulation here. Great. And now we can bake the mesh. We can try the smoothing. I never tried too much these smoothing options. And particle radius 1.2 was the original one. So let's try, and speed vectors and vectors. Okay. So let's reduce this to 100 samples for the test, just for the test. We can do a final test later. Just for this test, I want this to be faster. I'm used to faster renders. Come on, GTX, you can do it. It has a lot of noise. That's expected. 100 samples. What do you want? And final. And this test finished in 28 seconds. So first of all, let's optimize things that you could optimize in Blender Master. Okay, so for optimization, one of the first things you can do is to use Simplify. And we're going to compare the results of Simplify both in time and visual results. So let's go to this log 2 and let's increase the bounces to 3, and that's it. And we're not going to do anything more. So let's test again. Is the noise option in the render panel with OIDN with the Intel denoiser? What denoise option? You mean right now there is no viewport denoise? I had to disable it, but I will enable it soon enough too. I will have too much problem. But if you mean this denoise is the Blender denoise. The Blender denoise is the better denoise option for very refined renders. So like final renders that need a final step. So you can remove that final step from the equation. But if you are going to use low samplers renders, it's better to use the Intel OpenVDB denoise. And it's done in compositing, not at render time. So we have this, okay. See, we have 3 seconds less. If we go slot 1, 28 seconds to slot 2, 3 seconds, and you can see that we have a tiny bit less of light here. Okay, a bit less of light. We can try to modify, let's try to modify the ambient occlusion. And yes, you don't have to enable this. It will just work with this. So we can enable, we can modify this value to 0.4, for example, and we can test if this improves something. So let's test this. Is Mantaflow in the main development branch now? Yes, Mantaflow is already in master. So if you download the latest version of master, the latest version from Buildbot, you are going to get Blender with Mantaflow. So we have the meshes now. We can disable the liquid and we can see this. Somebody did a Blender denoiser comparison video. You should easily find it on YouTube. Yeah, but so maybe it was, I think it was Blender Guru who did the comparison, but it lacked a bit it lacked some denoisers. For example, the Intel OpenVDB denoiser, it was not in that comparison, and I think it needs to be compared also in different types of scenes. It's not the same an exterior scene than a scene with motion blur, than an interior scene, than a conceptual design scene. I don't know. Every denoiser, it's useful for different situations. So there's no need to compare everything. Okay, we have the liquid. We have this. Great. So now we have to decide what do we want to use. I'm not sure how am I going to mix those two, but we'll see. So now if I want to mix this fluid with this fluid, there are different ways to do it. And I'm trying to think like the better one. Let's try doing the voxel remesher first in this mess. So we have the mesh, let's say the smooth. We have the mesh result from Mantaflow. Great. Now we are going to apply the remesh modifier, and we get this. This is the classic remesh. We can even build blocks, and let's go here to 8, for example, and you have a, how is it called? How is it called, the game? I don't remember the name of the game. But we don't want this. We want the new voxel remesher. It's not new, it's the same voxel remesher as always. We have our voxel remesher here, and we can decrease the voxel size. So we can go to 0.05 or even less, 0.02, and it's pretty great, pretty good. We can disable it, enable it. You can see that we are missing some parts of the liquid because we need more resolution, but it's very good how it is like right now. Lego fluid, yeah. We can decrease it a tiny bit more, and we gain these parts. And now we have some new features in the voxel remesher. If I go and I want to see the geometry, the wireframe, you can see that at some points, sometimes we get these ugly diamonds. Okay, now we have an option that took a lot of effort of Scorpion 81 of Martin to make it work correctly, and it's the fixed poles. We can enable fixed poles, and it will try its best to remove these poles, so we get a much cleaner. You can see that we get a much cleaner result, right? Without fixed poles, you can see the bands. With fixed poles, you can see that we get much cleaner result. So it's a very great, very good feature. Okay. So now we have this, and we are going to mix our ocean with the simulation. So let's up our ocean a bit, a tiny bit. Why is it not responding? Let me disable the ocean for 1 second. Okay, I want this to be a bit go up. Wow, why isn't that on by default? Because the remesh would be a bit slower. So it's better to work the settings first without that option, and after that you can enable that option. I just made up this reason, but it feels logical, it feels plausible. What do you think, Scorpion? Did we enable that by default? Let me reduce this way. Why is it so slow right now? I don't know. I don't know why is it so slow. Let's disable. Let's see if the remesh is affecting, or yeah, the remesh is affecting our performance. So let's do it that way. For example, this is okay, I think. No, but we want Okay, we'll see some of the limitations we have right now. We have the ocean. And we go to 40, frame 40. Okay, now we can mix this ocean with this result of Mantaflow. So we can enable the remesh. I'm going to lower a bit the voxel size just for the time being, so we can work faster. 0.02 should be enough. And I'm going to disable the fixed poles for the time being too, so we can also work faster. And now we are going to use the ocean as a CSG operand. Okay, so we press the plus button and we get this this option to get the object. I don't remember the name. And if we pick the ocean, you can see here that we got a mix between the Mantaflow mesh and the ocean mesh. And now we could apply a filter. Let's apply a filter, like for example erode. Let's see if we can get rid of this. This is too much. 0.02. Still too much. No, erode is not going to be. Let's try Gaussian. Different filters, you have to test every filter. Gaussian is too much. Too mean. Dropper tool. Thanks, so maybe. Dropper. Hi, CBS. Merry Christmas. And we get the mixture of both. But we need a feature in Mantaflow. I will do some tests with the guidance, but we need a feature in Mantaflow that is able to correlate the simulation with an animated mesh, so we can make a perfect match between the simulation and the mesh of the ocean. So we need that. We don't have it yet. And that's the reason why we have these problems. And as I said, we are going to try to get rid of these problems of the wall. But I think it's going to be difficult. I mean, it is removing too much detail. Alexander, I'm just a Raven. Is it possible to import VDB object into Blender and render it with cycles? Yes and no. I will explain. Give me a second and I will explain it to you. So what we can do to try to remove this effect, it's kind of an ugly fix, okay? But it's what we can do right now. Or we could have a much bigger domain, and with a much bigger domain, we have no trouble with the wall effect. But if we want to kind of limit this effect, we can use another CSG operand. Let's try frame 35, sorry. 35. Be in this plus, okay, 35. Let me check. Okay, this one. We can create another CSG operand. We can create a UV sphere, for example. And we are going to increase this sphere more or less this way. Okay. And we can try to put everything outside of the sphere. So the mesh of the water is lost. As I said, it's kind of an ugly workaround, but for the time being is what we can do. So let's remove the faces. Okay, Juan, select everything, please. Let's remove the faces. and we can now we can use solidify one. What about complex? No, equal, even thickness. Okay, it should be enough. So we have this object, and we can enable the remesher now. You could also just check live remesh. It will freeze the last state of the remesh modifier until you check it again. True, that's true, but I like to see the live. I like to see it live, but I know what you mean. So let's use bounds, and let's use the CSU operand. CBS bonus to this. Is there any way to select an area of the ocean mesh with an empty and make a mask with it for the remesher? Why do you want a mask? We have Martin here, so if you explain your idea, because OpenVDB has some kind of mask, but so far it was not working very well, so we disabled it. But if you explain your idea, maybe Martin can come up with something. I don't know. It could be cool. So we can use the other object, the sphere, and instead of union, we are going to use difference. And then we remove it part of this. Of course, we have to adapt the base of the object. So let's do what Martin said. We can increase this a bit. Let me configure this as wire so we can see. Okay, this should be enough. Now we go back to the remesher and we apply a live. Okay, so we are limiting the mesh to that spherical area. So the effect of the walls will be like less visible because the water is not going to splat over the wall. It will just disappear. It's like it will disappear. That's it. It may be a bit cut, but with movement you won't notice it. 40, come on. Okay, as you can see, we don't have the wall. We can even work with something for this kind of parts. In this case, we have the wall. We may need to do the simulation in a bigger domain, but so far for the test, it's okay. In this case, we don't have any wall, and we don't have the upper wall, so it's okay. So next, as a way to merge different types of fluids with other kind of geometric objects. But it's what we are doing here. We have the Mantaflow, and we have the ocean that is just an animated box, and we are merging those two. That's why I don't understand the mask thing. Why do you want a mask? Okay, so now we are going to see another new feature of the Voxel Remesher. I hope it works, Martin, because I have not tested right now. I wanted to test this evening, but I have not tested it yet. So let's go to another place, because I don't want the wall. Okay, this is okay. This is better. Let's configure a material. Why is it so slow? I don't understand. Everything is slow. And let's put the live remesh to rest. Okay, we will configure a water material, an easy one, just transmission to 1, and no specular, no roughness. We can try GPU We can try the render. Of course, we don't have any light yet. So I'm going to enable real sky, that is the physical sky we use from Wolf. And let's hide the cube. This is the ocean. Everything's okay. We can see the. Let's enable the smooth shading, smooth normals. We have this. Okay, now we have it smooth also. We may need another filter because the ocean is generating some kind of artifacts. I don't know if you can notice, but it's generating some kind of artifacting. But for the time being, it's going to be okay. So now we have a water, and we can give the water a bit more of deepness with some volumes. So let's go to the shade editor, and we pick the water. Okay, no scene, perfect. Now we can use the volume. I think it was volume scatter. I don't remember right now. Let's disable this, and let's put another color. Density 5, 10, 30. Okay, let's go to blue. It will give us some kind of green. This is okay. Now let's value. Okay, it should be enough. So if we put the water here, we're going to see both things mixed. And now we can lower the density to 10, for example. Wait, that's ugly water, right? Let's reduce a bit saturation. Oh, we can use the volume absorption. Yes, we can use the volume absorption. That's it. 5. Less saturation and a bit more with 2. Okay, 8 with the effect, without the effect. Okay, so we get the water a bit more of deepness, and we'll remove part of the light that is going through the water. These are the artifacts generated by the ocean modifier. This is not because of the remesher, this is because of the ocean modifier. You can see the small squares, but I won't do anything about this right now. So now we can do another thing to improve this material. That is, we can create some kind of fake foam. How can we create fake foam? We can use a color ramp, and I think it was in geometry. We have, yes, we have pointiness, and if the render updates, it shows us we barely can see the effect, but now we are going to increase the effect with the color ramp. So if we go to the color ramp and now we start playing with it, you can see that we can get some neat effects. And with this, we can generate some kind of fake foam in the pointing parts of the fluid. So we use this mask. We are going to invert the mask, and we are going to use it in transmission. As you can see, we have these parts as white, and the rest is clear, is crystal clear. So we can try a bit more. We can give a bit more room for this. Okay, and we can reduce a bit the transparency. So we get a bit, tiny bit of transmission here, but we have this here. Okay, so now we have some kind of fake foam. No, I prefer it to be more white and more sharp. Okay, we have some kind of fake foam. Great. And what's the new feature of voxel remesher? The new feature was a very important one for fluid simulation and fluid remeshing. And the new feature is that we have motion blur. Yeah, we have motion vectors. Finally, with the OpenVDB remesher, we have motion vectors. So if I go here and I enable motion blur, I'm not going to touch anything. We can go to render, and let me render in CPU right now because it's going to be faster than the GPU. And I'm going to do a test. I'm not sure if it's going to crash render right now, but I'm going to enable MV because it's faster for motion blur. So far so good. I don't want to modify anything more because I want to explain some settings in the other blender. So let's render this. I forgot one thing, sorry. I forgot one thing that is very important. I forgot to enable the live remesh. Without the live remesh, we are not going to get motion blur probably. Okay, so now rendering and F12. And we can test this. Initializing, the preload times are the worst times in the cyclist render stage. I would really like to have a much more optimized preload time. Hello, Josu. Okay, and now we have to disable a lot of objects we don't want at render time. We don't want this, we don't want this. And that's it. Let's press render again. And we'll see if we get the proper results of motion blur now. Did I say hello to you, Josu? I'm not sure. Come on, initializing. This is boring. Let me check one thing. Okay, we are at the 1 hour mark. I want to explain a pair of things more, and that's it. And ooh, we don't get motion blur. What's happening here? Why we don't get motion blur? Martin, we have to test this case because it's not working. Pointing to emission to create lava. This is a very good idea. This is a very good idea. Let me test the thing. Let me test the thing. So we can go here and we can put pointing to emission, and of course I'm not going to do the full lava setup or anything like that, but just to test the idea, let's see what happens here. So we have this here, and we can increase the wrongness quite a bit. Now we want to remove this, but we want another effect. Do you have real foam in Mantaflow? What do you mean with real foam? Don't worry, Martin, if your computer cannot handle it, I can provide you with a small test. What do you mean with real foam? I would like to know. So let's flip the color ramp. Let's increase the effect. Okay. More or less this. Let's put this to the emission. And we can put math node in multiply to 10. And now we can put mix RGB. And we can multiply this, no color bar, some orange. For example. And now we can use this for the base color too, and we can test what happens. No, we can use this for base color. And my test is kind of crap, but it could work. As I can see, this can work. This may work. Yeah. Because basically you can control the emission with pointiness, and you have the dry parts, and the glowing parts could be another one, but we have a better setup. A motion blur at the moment is calculated from particle motion data. It doesn't yet. Okay, so it don't take over vertex data into account. So we have to take vertex data into account. But now, just for the sake of showing you the motion blur thing, we can try to do another kind of remesh or another kind of motion blur test. Let me go and start up another Blender, because I have a quick test. No, I don't think so. I don't think the reproject can take custom data layers. Okay, because I have particle fluid here. We have a small test. This is the test we've been using for test the motion blur feature. But I don't know why it's so slow right now. Something's happening in my computer. Something weird. Let me disable the render. Let me disable. There's nothing to be disabled here. We come back to this scene later. Now it's a bit faster. Okay, so 50 frames. Perfect. So we have this SPH setup. Okay, we have very good SPH fluids in Blender. So current cast to bake. So we can really move this. And if we enable the OpenVDB remesher, you can see the remesher here, and we can render this. And as you can see, I have some tests here. Let me remove the tests, and let's press render. And you can see we get motion blur polygons. For real foam, I mean having secondary simulate for making particle mesh apart from main fluid. Yes, of course. Let me show you that. So as you can see, we have motion blur for remeshed particles. To remesh a particle with the remesher, you just have to change the mesh for particles, and you are going to be able to remesh the first. I think it's just the first, Martin, but the first particle system. We may need an option to pick what particle system do we want to take into account. That's something we have to talk about. Okay, so that's it. We have motion blur. It's very good to have motion blur. It's pretty cool. And now we have to have motion blur for the mesh too. So let me show you. Yes, we have secondary particles. Let me disable right now the remesh. And we can go here to the Mantaflow options, and now we have particles here, and we can create different types of particles: spray, foam, bubbles, etc. I'm going to enable foam, for example, and if I enable foam, I can generate the particles using these two values. So if I press bake particles and save, it's baking with an average factor of 1. Hello, Macandi. It's not bad, taking into account that we are using a lot of particles and 100 divisions, so it's not bad. It's going to take just 50 frames. Okay, and now we press play. You can see how some foam is being generated here. And if we go to the splash, here is the foam. Those particles are just foam. Okay, this is just foam. Come here and you can see that these are foam particles, and we can use in fact, I'm thinking if we can use the voxel remesher. This is another thing for you, Martin, because I would love to. Okay, I would love to remesh the particles, but not lose the actual mesh of the simulation. We can try to generate we can go the old way of doing things. So we generate a UV sphere, and we go here to the particles, foam particles, and we have render and viewport display. And for viewport, I'm going to use points. What is that right now? And I'm going to use material, it is white, and I'm going to use the sphere. And let me try one thing. We are going to reduce the viewport amount to 10%, and now we can select this render, and we can see the actual scale. Theoretically, we should be okay, so no, sorry, not coordinate system or anything, object, and now let's configure this 10, and now let me pick the sphere, and we get this sphere. So if we want to reduce, we go to edit mode, and we reduce the size of the sphere. Okay. Now to the sphere we can apply a standard material. We could do a more complex material, but for the time being we are going to use just a diffuse BSDF, a white diffuse BSDF with a full roughness, and that's it. For the test, it's enough. Now I'm going to change this to point, and I can show the 100% particles. And let me disable motion blur for the time being. So we have this, and we can now test the render. You are welcome, Maisham. Now you can see that, yeah, we have foam, but we have very few particles. I would love to have more. By the way, my water, please bring me back my water. I need my water. Let's use this to transmission. Let's say goodbye to the file lava. Color and transmission. Okay. Water is white. Sorry, it's too small for me. If it's too small for you, imagine for me in and no transmission roughness, and now we have here. And no roughness, please. Okay. Now we can render this. This is Threadripper, the 2990, 64 threads. So yes, we get kind of foam, but we need a lot more particles. And right now I think there is a problem with the address, some kind of problem or limitation, because we get like particles that like are too ordered for my test, and that's not good. So we can go to the particles data and we can free just the particles, free particles. So we can modify just the particles and we can increase. If we read the tooltips, higher values result in less market cells, so we can go 4, for example, and lower values result in more market cells, so let's go to 1. So we should get more particles. Also, we have a potential radius, some particle object radius. We cannot disable uprest. That is one thing I find problematic, because if I don't want to uprest the geometry, I don't know. As I say, I find the particles too blocky for the time being. You are welcome, Benjamin. Yes, motion blur for particles. Yes, motion blur works for particles. And for the mesh, I'm going to enable motion blur later. For the mesh, it works if you enable use speed vectors. If you don't enable this, motion blur will not work, but with this, it works. And for particles, I think it works. So we have, okay, this is okay. Potential radius to compute potential for each set, yeah. So let's compute 3, particle update radius 3, 2. And particle life, this is important. Maximum 50 frames, 40 frames, and minimum 20 frames. So we get more particles more steady. Or on the contrary, we can do minimum 5 and maximum 10, and we can see what happens here. So now bake particles. Particle baking is kind of fast. And the good thing is that we are just calculating the particles. We are not simulating the fluid or the mesh. Those are already baked. So now we are just changing settings for the particles, not for the rest. Motion vector velocity pass is possible for composite fake foam too. Yes, I think so. But I will talk about a problem we have right now in cycles for that. Okay, we have the particles here. And we have much more particles now. A lot of foam. This is a lot of foam. But still, we have that order grid that I don't like. I don't know right now if we have any option to remove that grid effect. I would love to, but I don't know if we have any kind of option here. I don't see any option. But let's test the render. There is already official Mantaflow documentation. I don't think so. I don't think so. Okay, we have the foam here, and we can try the vector pass, and you will see one problem here. We can enable vector, and we can press render. And now, if I'm correct, it's a bit more slow. It's not too bad, but we should get the vector pass. Yes, I don't know why we are not getting the mesh vectors. This is weird, but we can go to compositing, and we can get the vector blur, vector speed, and depth, and we should get this. But it feels like it's not right. Let's reduce the motion blur 0.1. It's kind of weird. I think the vector pass is bugged because this movement makes no sense. Compensate. Right now, I think it's kind of bugged. It's not working correctly. I read that you can make custom passes with the nodes, but no idea how you would see the speed. No, the speed is not a custom pass. The speed is just the vector pass. You can enable the vector pass, and that's it. I don't know if we could generate a fake vector speed pass, but I don't know how. Maybe it's possible, but I don't know how. But we can try to render with motion blur, because I think the motion blur works correctly. If we enable motion blur, what we are going to get is a much more slower result. And there is nothing we can do about that. As simple as that. There is nothing we can do to increase motion blur speed. Not too bad. I was expecting it to be much more slower. I think we need more particles. Let me try to compare without the motion blur. Trying to you, Josu. Yes, this is without the motion blur. And we can compare with the motion blur. So it's, I don't know, it's kind of weird. I think the motion blur is not entirely correct right now. Right? I think it's not correct. Let me remove, I think the modifier, the remesh modifier is doing something with the motion vectors of the mesh. Let's try again. I don't know, these results are kind of weird. This is kind of weird. I don't know what's happening here, because I'm not seeing the motion blur in the mesh either. So something must be wrong here. It should give us proper motion blur. In the mesh, I mean. Let me disable the particles just to see if it has something to do with it. And let me disable the transmission. Okay, we have a solid water. And try We don't get any motion blur. Why? Let me check. Maybe this has the same problem. Maybe it's this. Right. If it's not working, then we just detected a bug, and it's a new bug because it was working before, so it's a regression. Okay, while the mess is being computed, we are 1 hour and a half more or less, we can go back to this scene. So we were testing this scene, and we go from 28 seconds for the default to 25 seconds, modifying the simplify, and now we modify the distance of the ambient occlusion, and we get a bit less, 2562, and now we get 2535. But now we are going to enable some of the improvements we have, and this is in advanced. We have sobble and scramble distance. If we enable dithered sobble and we lower the scramble distance to 0.1, we can also do another modifications for the light paths, so we can optimize this a bit more. But if we do this and we render in the slot 4, we can check the new speed. Let's go. Okay, so we went from 28 seconds to 18 seconds with a GTX 2080, and this is the difference in the render. Okay, not just we went faster, that this is the default, but now if we go to our render, we get less noise in many parts. If we compare the picture, I don't know if you can see the effect because of YouTube, but if we compare the picture, we see less noise. Check this part of the picture, we get way less noise. So 18 seconds and less noise in the same time. Not bad. And this scene is not really optimized. We can even force this a bit more. If we go to simplify, and then now we can do like a super fast version. It's not going to be correct at all, but we can do a super fast version. We go to simplify. Let me go to live streaming, sorry, so you can see my camera. We go to simplify, and we can reduce this to 1, and then you can see how we get like super fast, and we can reduce this to 2.2. And we can try to render this. Let's see what happens. This is not going to be correct, but for fast previews, it could be perfectly enough. So now this is rendered in 6 seconds, from 28 seconds to 6 seconds. Of course, the lighting is not the same at all, but from 28 to 6 seconds. For a fast preview of shaders, for example, or many other things, it could be enough. We can try a middle ground. We go to simplify, and we increase the bounces of the render to 2. We press render. It takes a bit more. 12 seconds. So 6 seconds, you can see we have no light. 12 seconds, we have much more lighting. 28 seconds. But in the 12 seconds version, we get more artifacts because we are forcing too much the scramble distance. So if you want to be sure your scene is not going to have artifacts, you have to remain in 0.2 more or less. So if we go to 0.2, we are going to get less speed, but it's going to be right. Between 0.2 and 0.5 is usually okay. It depends on the samples you use. If you are going to render with 500 samples, for example, you can use a much lower value here. So 14 seconds, not bad, right? 28, 14. So you wanted how to increase render speed. This is how you increase render speed. And these are the modifications we have here. And we still don't have the adaptive sampling back, but our version of adaptive sampling was working with a scramble distance and resolve, and I want to re-implement this as soon as possible to get just a tiny bit more of speed. This is it. We can modify the clamping, the direct and indirect clamping, and the maximum bounces and the light threshold. We can do different modifications to speed up the render. It all depends on your needs, but in general, this is what you can do. We can do a test in CPU. Now it's finished. We can do a test in CPU, 16 by 16, and let's test. So we got 11 seconds in CPU. CPU it was 14 seconds, and this CPU is 11 seconds. You can see it's the same render, but it's great. The Threadripper CPUs are the best. But if you want a Threadripper, don't try to assemble it by yourself, because you can end up with a lot of problems. So I recommend you, well, I can recommend you a store, an actual store. Let me go here. I can recommend you this brand of workstation, so you can check this brand, Muga, and you will get very good workstations. And you can, I think you can purchase from everywhere in the world. You have the English website, and you can check with them. Okay, now let's go back to Mantaflow, and let's try if we get motion blur, because it was super weird. We are not getting any motion blur. I don't know why. Something is broken. Definitely broken. Let's disable the vector path just in case it's generating a problem. Yes, I don't know why we are not getting any motion blur. I already tested this and it should be working. Ah, maybe because I'm green. No, I don't know. It's not working at all. I have to speak with Sebas and check with him what's happening, because it should get motion blur. Josu, will you do live in Spanish? I did already this live in Spanish in Twitch, the other platform, because I'm going to do streamings in both platforms, in both languages, in English and Spanish. So you can follow me also in Twitch. So now I want to show you another thing, and the final thing of the voxel remesher, one of the new features that we have here. That is this one. Let's generate a material for Susan, for the monkey. And let's go to shader editor, and let's go to preview. Okay, I'm going to generate a new texture, and it's going to be UV grid without alpha. Here we have the UV grid. Now I'm going to create a sphere, And we are going to create a material here, and we are going to create a checker. And this checker is going to be blue and red. Why? Because I want to. Now, if we go here and we use the voxel remesher, well, we can apply the same texture to see the difference. Yeah, let me apply first the same texture. The last stream for this year is in Spanish. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? Maybe there is no other streaming. Maybe there are 2 more. I don't know. It all depends on my free time, basically. And I don't have too much free time, so it all depends on that. So now we can go to the voxel remesher and we apply remesh voxel 0.05, 0.02, for example. And you can see that we don't get any kind of mapping. We don't get the material because we don't get the mapping, but we can enable reproject data, and then we got back our mapping. It's not perfect, okay? It tries, but it's not perfect. It's basically the same implementation of the data transfer modifier, but without the need of having the other mesh and such things. But we can fix poles, and we can try to maintain the sharpening features. I don't know if this will help. No, it won't help. So as you can see, it tries to maintain as much as possible, but it cannot maintain the perfect 2.1, the perfect UVs. It has some trouble. But you have a general version of the UVs. So for example, for something you would use for fast remeshing and to check how is it going and how is the result and such things, it's very good. So now we go to CSG operands, we add the sphere, and we can use difference. And check this. We have the sphere mapping projected into the result. So it's not the monkey mapping, it's the sphere mapping. So we can move the sphere and we can see how the mapping is moving. So we have the sphere texture projected into the result. It's very good. So now I don't know if we get material assignment. Martin, do we get material assignment? I'm not sure. Let's check another material. Oh, it crashed. What a pity. Let's see if we can get an autosave. Yes. We get our autosave. Hey. Okay. So now we enable reproject data. We enable before we enable the CSG operands, let me add another material. We have a crash, by the way, Martin. I don't know if you noticed that we have a crash. Okay, let's enter in edit mode and assign the second material. Set the editor and let's apply the checker. Now we can get this difference, and we can try to put the second material here, and I think yes, we get the material assignment too. So it's very cool, very cool. I really like the voxel remesher. 0.05, 0.005 or 0.005. It's remeshing and we get there. Not bad, right? Think if both have the same materials and object, maybe not. No, yeah, we get that. What about maybe, man? You did this. You have to know what's happening under the hood. Yes, we get material assignment and we get UV reprojection and we get fixed poles. So we get a ton of new features for the voxel remesher. And don't forget that this is a modifier. We can increase adaptivity. What could happen to this if we enable adaptivity? Do you think it's going to work? I'm not so sure. Let's try. Oh, it works. It works. So we get way less geometry than before. Material preview. Way less geometry, and it works. It's not perfect, as I said. It's not perfect. Okay. And I don't know why it's not perfect. We apply this, and we go to check the UVs. We are going to see very fast what's happening here. And these faces are the problem. But this is not the fault of the voxel remesher at all. This is just the way the reprojection, the data transfer modifier works. So Martin is reusing the data transfer programming to do all of this, and we get the exact same result as with the data transfer modifier. So I have to investigate if we can get a bit better results with different settings that maybe Martin can tune up. But so far this is the same result the data transfer gives you, so we get the same problems. But at least we have this kind of preview. I think it's pretty cool, pretty neat. So okay, that's it for today. I hope you liked this streaming. It's been 1 hour and 43 minutes, not bad. And I have not finished the thumbnail. So I hope I can finish the thumbnail tonight. But first I will upload the new build to graphical.org. And thank you all for watching. And that's it. Press the like button if you liked it. Share it, please share it so we can get more followers in the channel. And subscribe to our other platforms too. And that's it. See you in the next streaming. Bye guys. Thank you. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.